The COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent lockdowns have sped up the push towards digitalization across the world. While most tech-savvy people in the younger generation might welcome the new trend, Melissa Goh finds out that the elderly in Malaysia are struggling to bridge the digital divide.
Now, you may think that this is a common sight in the global trend of digital transformation, but for many elderly, it's a headache. You know, when their neighborhood coffee shops like this turn digital, they're simply overwhelmed trying to order their food and drinks via digital menu and pay their bill online via e-wallet.
The pandemic and subsequent lockdowns have expedited the push towards digitalization in Malaysia and across the world. While some elderly are more tech-savvy than others, many are struggling. But luckily for these elderly, in this Petaling Jaya suburb of Bukit Gasing, their local state assemblyman is organising digital literary workshops to help them adapt. Step by step, these volunteers are teaching the elderly how to stay connected with their loved ones via social media, send messages and access digital maps.
This is helping them to get on the technology bandwagon so that they are not disconnected. More and more communication is happening over social media, pictures of grandchildren, pictures of nephews and nieces. And then there are some older relatives who are not connected, and then they are missing out. People make plans to meet up over social media, over WhatsApp.
78-year-old retiree Vincent Ong is one of the beneficiaries. He and his wife found themselves more isolated than ever during the lockdown. And without a smartphone, they said they can't go anywhere, even though both are fully vaccinated, as many places require customers to scan using contact tracing app called MySejahtera to show proof of vaccination as well as a risk status before they are allowed to enter.
I don't know how to operate the handphone. We are just bought the handphone, and then I don't know how to operate. And then, as you know, lockdown, you cannot go anywhere. It's some problem because nobody teach me.
But 3 weeks on, Mr. Ong said he's starting to get a hang of it.
I'll receive call and then send message, all this simple function, sending the location map, all these things. Simple one. You know, old men, we always absent-minded, so we jot down.
While some are more enthusiastic than others, experts say overall the pandemic has forced many elderly out of their comfort zone and overcome their tech phobia.
In some ways benefited from this pandemic, quote unquote, in the sense of they had to get back to understand that they have to survive. And the survival of the fittest here is they had a shop. And they had a shop because they're living alone and they have to learn in terms of rehab point of view. It is possible to teach someone, even with the older generation, because when you want something, you will go ahead and learn and do it.
Now, indeed, this pandemic has been a wake-up call for many, particularly for policymakers in Malaysia, who realize just how large is the digital divide between the elderly population and the rest of the country.
The global pandemic, it caught us all by surprise. But one of the best things about going forwards for Malaysia is that it brought us to realize that there were many gaps that needed to be filled, especially on the digital front, with regards to how technology brings us into better healthcare, into better reach to the areas between rural and urban areas.
To that end, she said government agencies, NGOs, including the private sector, need to work closely to ensure no one is left behind, including senior citizens, as the country speeds up digitalization to drive economic rebound. All this to ensure they don't miss out on their golden years.